this video, we're going to be learning about variables. This is really going to be kind of a two-parter. I just want to introduce the idea of variables. If you're one of my students and you're following along with CMU CS Academy, they've been mentioned sorta, and we definitely talked about it earlier in the year, but I definitely want to go over it again. This, like I've said in earlier videos here, if you don't have access to CMU CS Academy, you can go to Code Sculptor. I like going to Code Sculptor 3, uses Python 3, and you can follow the majority of this video here. It's an online place where you can write in Python. All right, let's get started. So far in CMU CS Academy, we've seen variables in the context of functions, which I'll come back to at the end of this video, but I just want to start with like how you create a variable kind of generally. So the anatomy of a variable in computer science and programming is first you have to give the variable a name. Our most common name for variables, especially if you're coming from a math class context, is going to be x. So you start by naming your variable, and then often you will assign it some value to start with. So I'm going to say x equals 5. And really in programming, the way we say this often is x is given the value of 5. And now I can do things with that, right? I can print out, hi, your variable is, and then put a little plus, and then put x. So what a variable is you can think of it as a little box somewhere in the computer that's going to hold on to some value. You can edit what's in the box. You can take whatever's in the box out and put something else in. But ultimately, the value is that you get to be able to move this box around and use it in lots of different places in your program. And also that you can edit it. If I run this program as it is right now, let me run it. It is going to, okay, right. So this x is currently an integer. There are types of variables. There's, numbers and words and letters and all that stuff. Integers or floats, strings and characters. One way to deal with that is if you just put a comma instead of a plus, Python will kind of deal with the typecasting on its own nicely. So I started this program by saying on line 1, I made a variable. Its name is x, and I stored the value 5 into that variable. And I said, hi, your variable is, put a comma after, and then I put the x, and it printed out, hi, your variable is, and then it printed out 5. Alrighty. Whoops. Sorry, I don't want to zoom out too much. The next kind of thing that I want to show about variables is, yes, we named a variable. We've used it inside of a print statement. You can use it multiple different times. So now we're going into some CMU use. But if I decide to make a circle, I can, instead of using, putting a circle, and maybe I'll change this to 50 just so it's all the way on the screen. Instead of making a circle at 50, I don't know, 200, radius of 10, we'll fill it with orange. I could make the circle there, but I can also use a variable in place of hard coding a number in. And, well, x is currently holding on to the value 50. So just like how it printed out its value when I put it in a print statement, it will use that value when creating the circle. If I run the code right now, higher variable is 50. And then also I create the circle at the coordinates 50, 200, because in the x part of my circle, the x coordinate of my circle, I, put the variable named x. And now you can, let's make another variable. Instead of calling it y just by itself, maybe I'll call it like circle y. You can name variables basically whatever you want. So I'll call it circle y. I'll make it, I don't know, 350. And now instead of in the y part of my circle, I can just put circle y. And because on line 2, we gave the variable circle y the value 350, when I run this code, my circle will now be at 50, 350. Hopefully that's making sense. One or two more things that I want to talk about in terms of variables and what you could do with them, and then I'll close this video. This is, like I said, it's going to be a two-parter. There's a couple things to talk about with variables. You are allowed to change the value that a variable is holding on to. So if I want to, go ahead on line 7 and say, hey, circle y, actually, I want to make it equal to whatever x was holding on to and add, I don't know, 75. That is okay. After that on line 9, maybe I could also change the value of x. I can just say, you know what, straight up, I'm switching x over to 150. An important thing to pay attention to is, again, when your code is run, it goes from the top down just one line at a time executing the commands, unless you get to functions, conditionals, loops. That's where you start, skipping lines, going backwards. We're not there yet. So let's just see what happens when I run this. Well, nothing. Because when I printed over here and when I made the circle, my x and circle y, those haven't been changed yet. So maybe I'll make something different. Maybe I'll make another circle at x circle y. This time I'll make it, I don't know, 30, and I'll make the fill equal... I'm spending too much time. I'll make it blue. If I run now, I made this first circle at 5350 because the variables I used for the x and the y were 50 and 350. Then on lines 7 and 8, I made circle y equal to whatever x was holding on to plus 75. Well, x most recently was holding on to 50, so circle y will become 50 plus 75. It should be 125. And then on line 8, I change x and I say, you know what? Scrap that 50. I actually want you holding on to 150. So that's why I am at 150, 125, right? The x is 150, the circle y was the 125, and I put it in the x and the y. I don't want to get too crazy. I don't want this to go on for too long, so I think I will end it there for now. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else I want to talk about over here. Big summary, variables, you can name them what you want. They can hold on to things. I guess the only other thing that I'll mention is that variables can also hold on to words. Like I can say name equals, and I can, just like I put a number there, I could make it equal to a word like Mr. Adler. That would work too. But other than that, yeah, variables, they're a place. They're a thing that can hold on to information. You can edit whatever they're holding on to. You can just totally scrap it and change it. And then you can use that variable in place of just hard coding in numbers, like if I just put in 125, and 175 here. Sorry, 150 here. Wait, what was it? Oh man, is 150 and 125. 150 and 125. You can use the variables that are holding onto that information to create the things instead. And this will allow us, like we've seen in functions a little bit before, to let our programs react to different things that the user's doing and different things that the program is doing. Yeah, okay, I'm done with the outro. See ya. Hopefully that was useful.